Have you ever paused in the quiet of your home and wondered?
When did my children start seeing me differently?
You poured your heart into raising them. Endless nights soothing their cries, cheering at their games, wiping away tears after their first heartbreaks. You traded your own plans, your own time, sometimes your own peace, to make sure they had everything they needed to soar. And now, it feels like your words barely land. They cut you off mid-sentence. Your advice is met with eye rolls. When you ask for a moment of their time, they're suddenly swamped. Worst of all, there's this ache, this sense that you've become invisible. If that hits home, please hear this. You're not alone. So many parents reach this season of life where the ground shifts beneath them. You were once their hero, their safe place, their everything. But now, it feels like they see you as an afterthought, maybe even a bother. That kind of hurt?
It's heavy and it's real. It's tempting to react to snap, to remind them of all you've sacrificed, to pull away in silence.
But here's a truth that might catch you off guard. Fighting for their respect rarely brings it back. What does work is quieter, stronger, and far more empowering. That's what we're diving into today.
Because there are simple, dignified steps you can take right now to change how your children see you. Not through guilt trips or arguments, but through calm confidence, clear boundaries, and a deep sense of your own worth. These aren't quick fixes.
They're real, lasting shifts that can restore the connection and respect you deserve. Let's start with something that might feel familiar. Bending over backward to keep them happy. Have you ever said yes when every fiber of you wanted to say no, just to avoid a fight? Maybe you canceled your own plans to run an errand for them, even when it drained you. Or you bit your tongue when they spoke to you in a way that made your heart sink, just to keep things smooth. It's something so many parents do without even noticing. But here's the key. The more you chase their approval, the less they value you. Not because they're cruel, but because people naturally respect what stands firm, not what always gives way. I once knew a woman named Clara, a single mom who raised 2 boys with everything she had. As they grew older, she kept saying yes, to driving them across town at a moment's notice, to giving them money she couldn't spare, to staying quiet when they dismissed her. "I just want them to need me," she'd say. But the more she gave in, the less they seemed to care. She thought she was showing love. They saw someone who didn't demand respect. Respect doesn't grow from always saying yes. It grows from valuing yourself. When you keep putting your own needs last, you quietly signal that your time, your feelings, your voice don't matter as much. And people pick up on that, even your own kids. So, if this sounds like you, let me say it plainly. It's time to stop overextending yourself. It's okay to say, "Not today." It's okay to draw a line. You're allowed to speak up when something feels wrong. You're allowed to matter, and you don't need anyone's permission to claim that space. Respect begins with how you treat yourself. When you honor your own worth, others start to follow. Now, let's talk about another trap that's so easy to fall into: arguing. When your kids talk down to you or brush you off, it's natural to want to push back. You want to say, "Don't you remember all I've done?" Or, "Who do you think you're talking to?" It feels justified. But arguments rarely fix things. They just dig the gap deeper. Here's something that can change everything. Stop arguing and start leading with calm strength. When you react with anger or hurt, it shows they still hold the reins to your peace. But when you respond with quiet confidence, it flips the script. It says, "I don't need to shout. I know my worth." Let me tell you about Thomas, a man who commanded respect everywhere he went, except at home. His grown daughters would interrupt him, dismiss his ideas, even laugh off his concerns. At first, Thomas fought back. Every dinner turned into a debate, every disagreement a shouting match. Nothing changed. Then he tried something new. He stopped trying to win. He'd share his thoughts, but calmly, without chasing their agreement. Carried himself like someone who didn't need to prove anything. Slowly, his daughters noticed. They started listening, not because he demanded it, but because he stopped playing their game. You don't have to fight for respect. You live it. Let your calm be your strength. Let your presence carry your power. You don't need to convince your kids to see your value. They'll feel it when you embody it. And here's a truth that might feel hard but also liberating. Your children don't have to be your everything. You love them fiercely, of course. But when your happiness hinges on their calls, their visits, their approval, the balance tips the wrong way. People, even your own kids, respect those who stand on their own. Your joy, your peace, comes from within, not from how often they check in or how much they praise you. They start to see you differently.
Not as someone waiting for their attention, but as someone whole, grounded, and strong. I once met Diane, a woman who lived for her 3 kids. When they grew up and moved on, she felt lost. She'd call them constantly, leave voicemails, ask when they'd visit. The more she reached out, the more distant they seemed. Then Diane made a choice. She started living for herself. She took up gardening, joined a book club, even traveled solo for the first time. She wasn't pulling away from her kids. She was building a life that didn't revolve around them. And you know what? They started calling more. They wanted to hear about her adventures. They missed her, not just her availability. Because she wasn't chasing them anymore. She was drawing them in by living fully.
So, if you felt that pang when they don't call, or that quiet sadness when they're too busy, remind yourself, your worth isn't tied to their attention. It's in you. And the more you nurture your own light, the more others will be drawn to it, naturally, respectfully. To truly rebuild respect, there's one more piece that's vital: boundaries.
Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about showing them how to treat you. Often, adult kids overstep, not because they're trying to hurt you, but because no one ever showed them where the line is. If they interrupt you, make decisions without asking, or speak in a way that stings, it's likely because those habits were never challenged. Not out of weakness, but maybe out of love or a hope to keep the peace. But love without boundaries can breed resentment. And silence, over time, becomes an invitation. Let me share a story about Louise, a retired nurse with a heart of gold. At work, everyone admired her. At home, her grown sons treated her differently. They'd snap at her over small things, ignore her advice, even make plans for her without asking. Louise let it go for years, thinking, they're just busy. Each time she stayed quiet, they pushed further. Then one day, during a heated family call, one son cut her off sharply. Instead of arguing, Louise paused. When the moment settled, she said, "I'm happy to talk, but I need to be heard. If that's not possible right now, we can try again later." Her voice was steady, kind, but firm. The call ended quietly, but something shifted. She hadn't attacked, she clarified. Over time, her sons adjusted. They didn't lose her, but they learned her worth. Boundaries aren't about control, they're about respect. When you set them clearly, your kids start to show up differently. They see your time, your energy, your presence as something to honor, not something they're entitled to. There's one more pattern that sneaks up on so many parents: giving endlessly without expecting gratitude. You help with their kids, offer advice, maybe even open your wallet, because that's who you are. You don't do it for praise, but it still stings when they don't notice. When they take without a thank you, expect without asking, or move on without checking in. Giving is beautiful, but giving without limits doesn't teach them to cherish you. It teaches them to expect you. I knew a man named Paul, a grandfather who never said no. He'd drop everything to fix his daughter's car, watch her kids, or help with bills. But when Paul needed help after a fall, his daughter was too busy. That moment hurt, but it also woke him up. He didn't stop helping, but he changed how he helped. He started saying, "I can help this time, but I'll need notice next time." Or, "I'm happy to pitch in if we can work together." His daughter was surprised at first, but soon she started saying thank you. She valued his help because it wasn't automatic anymore. When you pull back just enough to let them feel your absence, they start to treasure your presence. You don't have to stop giving, just give with boundaries. And here's the heart of it all. You are more than a parent. You're a person with your own dreams, your own time, your own story. One of the most powerful things you can do is build a life that doesn't revolve around your kids. I know, it might feel strange after years of putting them first, but ask yourself, what lights me up? Because when your kids see you thriving, not just waiting for their call, they're drawn to you. They respect you, not out of guilt, but because you shine with purpose. You're not here to just serve them. You're here to live. Whether it's painting, hiking, volunteering, or savoring a quiet coffee alone, you deserve to prioritize your joy. And when you do, your kids don't just see mom or dad. They see someone vibrant, whole, and inspiring. As you start carrying yourself with more confidence, setting boundaries, and letting go of old patterns, something shifts. The tension softens. The heaviness lifts. You're not chasing their approval anymore. You're standing in your own strength. And that's the secret. Respect isn't something you demand. It's something you inspire by how you live. Let me say this clearly. You matter, not because of what you've given, but because of who you are. The world and your family need the version of you who feels grounded, confident, and at peace. The version who doesn't shrink to avoid conflict, but speaks with love and truth. That version changes everything. You might notice your kids respond in small ways at first. Maybe they listen a little longer. Maybe they soften their tone. Maybe they ask about your day and mean it. These aren't accidents. They're the ripples of you reclaiming your place. But even if change takes time, don't lose hope. Your kids may need a moment to adjust to this new you. The one who says no, who sets limits, who lives fully. That shift can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, but it's growth. And it's worth it. Love and respect aren't the same. You can love your kids with all your heart and still say, I won't accept that tone. You can care deeply and still choose yourself. That's not selfish, it's healthy. And often, it strengthens the bond. Because when your kids see you value yourself, they learn to value you too. They admire you, not out of duty, but because you're someone worth admiring. So, here's a question to sit with today. Where are you giving away your strength? Is it in the way you always say yes? The way you stay quiet when you want to speak? Or maybe it's in waiting for their attention to feel whole. Wherever it is, start there. Make one small shift. Maybe it's saying, I'd love to help, but today's not good. Maybe it's calmly saying, let's talk when we can both listen. Or maybe it's signing up for that class you've been eyeing. Small steps, that's all it takes. You don't have to be perfect, just begin. If this resonates, if you've ever felt that quiet sting of being overlooked by the kids you raised, hear this. You deserve better. Not because of the past, but because of who you are now. And if you're still here, thank you for your openness, your courage, your willingness to reflect. That's strength. That's the start of change. I'd love to hear from you. Have you felt your kids pull away or speak to you in ways that hurt? Have you tried boundaries or focusing on yourself? What worked? Share a few words or a story in the comments. Your experience could light the way for someone else. If this video spoke to you, please give it a thumbs up. It helps others find this message. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and hit the bell so you'll catch every video we share to lift you up and walk with you. You're never too old to reclaim your voice, never too late to rebuild respect, and never too far from the love and peace you deserve. Thank you for being here. You are enough, you are strong, and you are not alone. Until next time, keep shining, because living with confidence is the loudest message you'll ever send.